So here's a question for you. Snapshot, 5 seconds ago. How many of you were sitting, waiting to see what's going to happen next? How many of you were somewhere else? And how many of you were just resting with yourself as if the meditation had already begun? Not necessarily in meditation, but just resting within yourself. Not necessarily needing it to go anywhere. So who was in the first state, sitting there waiting to see what's going to happen next? Go, be honest, I just want to see the figures. Okay. How many of you were sort of somewhere else? And how many of you were just setting up your meditation or tuning in to that sense of stillness?
What about trying to do something?
Okay, you would try to set up this camera.
No, not that, but like...
Yes. Okay. There is a point where meditation stops being meditation, or there is no meditation. Meditation is really our exercise to allow ourselves to access that state of spacious awareness. And then there's just being in it. Remember yesterday I spoke to you about being lost in thought or present. And the point of this presence, that I think everyone's talking about, aren't they? You know, this power of now, this mindfulness, whatever. It's a very uncontrived state. There's nothing that you do to it. It reveals itself in the undoing of all the other things that we are busily occupied with most of the time. Now, it doesn't mean that we stop cutting the vegetables to make the lunch. It doesn't mean that we stop ironing the shirt that we're ironing. It doesn't mean that we stop walking the dog. It doesn't mean that we stop doing these things that we're doing in the moment. It's that we are there completely with them. That we aren't lost. That moment isn't lost. The Buddha said, in the seeing there's only the seeing. There's nothing else there. If you are looking out the window, at the tree, there is only seeing the tree. Sounds rather trite. In the ironing, there's only the ironing. In the taking a walk, there's just the being with the walking. It's to not add or take away anything from the experience that allows it to complete itself. To not watch yourself walking and get so lost into deciding what kind of pace and what kind of breathing you're doing and when your foot hits the floor and when your heel lifts up again. It's not to watch. It's not to scrutinize. It's to simply witness. It's to simply meet what's going on. Whether your mind is concentrated on perception of stillness or spaciousness or emptiness in a deep state of samadhi, or whether the hustle and bustle of life is going on around you, the one taste of the awakened experience is that you are with it, allowing it to be without doing anything to it. Now, right now, You're not far off that. As you sit and you listen to me, some of you, to some degree or a greater degree, are just resting with yourself in the moment, receiving the information, not getting lost, not comparing it to information you've heard before, but just being with it. And then there's the bird. And when I'm not speaking, there's the stillness. And it's all one taste. The sound of my voice lands in your heart base as it is. The sense of stillness in the room lands in your heart base as it is. The car driving past, the sound lands in your heart base as it is, and the sound of the bird lands in your heart base. And you rest within yourself as a mirror that allows all of these things to be exactly what they are. And you simply meet them at the point of their arising. Now that is meditation. And yet, here we are, not even meditating. Allowing that car to pass without a trace. And this simplicity and the spaciousness and the clarity starts to reveal itself within that. When your mind stops and you're still there, you're awake. Cool down your mind. See if you cannot notice what arises next when your heart does become still. Don't get lost in your thoughts. Leave them alone. When your heart becomes still and touches that stillness, it's resting behind all these things that are going on. What's the response? First, the peace of being undisturbed. The relief of recognizing that you can leave everything alone. And the joy, the feeling of love, that everything is exactly the way it needs to be. When we rest effortlessly within ourselves, in that crystal clear purity, that basic space, that unfathomable stillness, within which we are all arising endlessly. What does it do to your heart when you touch that undisturbed, pristine place of clarity, of stillness? What does it do to your heart? But gladden it and fill it with love and joy. Let your heart open. Don't push it. Let it open the way a flower opens when the warmth of the sun touches it. There is no desire to open, just a willingness. Let your heart be touched by that clear light. Of spaciousness, of pure consciousness, of peace. Rest effortlessly upon that pristine state of stillness and clarity. That is everywhere. Within your heart, behind the arising and passing of your mind, everywhere behind the arising and passing of formations, internally, externally. One mind, one basic space of phenomena. Pure awareness. A mirror that reflects perfectly all things. Come back to your body. Physical sense of presence, its form and structure. Feel the shape, the space that you occupy. Let that state of meditative stability permeate your whole body, blissfully, joyfully. Feel the space immediately around you, your own chi field, your own energy field. Let that state of meditative stability, of awareness, penetrate your whole energy field. Leave it as it is. Let it reorganize itself. Sarva Banzamrita Kundale Rasayana Dana Daya Guya Sadahumrit Sarvamansamrita Kundale Rasayana Dhanataya Gurya Sadahum Rita Om Ahom Sarvamansamrita Kundale Rasayana Dhanasaya Kurya Sadahum Rita As you emerge from your meditation, give yourself time. Do not separate your meditation from your ordinary state of consciousness. As you emerge, bring with it your connection to that state of clarity, of awareness. Just allow yourself to gently emerge from your meditation, relax your body. Don't go to your mind. Stay where you are. All right. Just stretch your body out whatever way you feel is helpful. All right, so given less guidance, not necessarily steered step by step into it, how are we doing?
I didn't want to come out to it, actually.
Good.
Yeah.
When you did come out of it, did you find yourself able to bring the essence of the practice back into your ordinary consciousness?
No, I felt much more, it was a much more beautiful place
than this.
It is actually coming back here.
Okay, well, in a way, our challenge is to find the same, that beautiful place within our meditation, is to see it within our ordinary consciousness. It's just behind. It's like in the gap between the arising and the passing of things, or the passing and the re-arising. It's always there. What's the beautiful place in your meditation? The point that you're able to abide in that gap, that space from which things arise and pass, without anything arising and passing. But as you progress out of your meditation, things arise and pass. But the gap, the space, the basic space remains there. Do you bring your attention to that which is arising and passing? Or can you continue to abide into that space from which it is arising and passing? That's our challenge, is to stay awake as we go back to sleep. It's interesting. What would make that experience while you're meditating more beautiful? The fact that we are able to engage completely with it. It has all our attention. So that it's, that pristine clarity, that spaciousness, the settledness of it, the peace, all of those things which are within it are revealed to us more completely because we're completely focused upon them. As we emerge, other things draw our attention. But the key is to keep some part of you connected to that. It's a stream that has run through your whole life and will continue to run through the rest of your life and when you die. This is the one thing that will be constant. It was there at the moment you were born, it will be there when you die. And if you spot it, it will be there after you die. What won't be there after you die is all the faffing of your lower mind. Well, it will, as it does its, what should we say, its reviewing. If you choose to cling to it as me, then that is the cause for your renewed becoming. But if you can spot this basic state of purity, this field of pure potentiality from which anything can arise, from which you have arisen, and me, then if you can enter that, which will always be there, it's there every night when you're asleep and you don't see it, it's there in the gap between every arising of your mind and you don't see it. It's there as you pass away. But so wrapped are we with these illusory impressions that we've called me and all its attachments to all its ideas and its experiences, that what we will believe is appearing to us when we die is this reviewing of all these ideas of me and all of my experiences. But what are they arising from? All those impressions that you've accumulated in your heart over this life will all arise out of your heart as you die, and you can either choose to grip one of them, battle with some of them, with whatever, or recognize that they are arising from this basic state of awareness that has been with you always. And when you see that that is the true nature, the Buddha nature, this fundamental, the square root of your being, then hopefully you will stream with that as you pass away and not pull this stock of attachment, clinging and aversion with you, which is the cause for renewed becoming dependent upon attachment, aversion, and ignorance.
Can I ask a question? If it's holding on to those attachments that keep you here, can it be things that are related to people that you love that are difficult to leave behind? Those things would be quite a draw, wouldn't they?
They would.
And they would be the things that you would cling to.
Yes, this is why we have to learn to transform our attachment into appreciative joy. Appreciative joy is the highest state of love, because it just recognizes that this is not mine. And I can deeply appreciate it and deeply love it in the knowledge that it's not to be clung to. Whereas the attachment that this is mine smothers that higher aspect of love and shrinks it. So part of our awakening is to transform our understanding and our experience of love from the love of that which is mine to the love of all things for what they are. That's appreciative joy. So your heart can still be filled with boundless love and compassion and appreciative joy for all beings that are very dear to you. But at the point of passing, they are released painlessly. But the clinging is the pain of suffering, because we are all going to be separated from everything that is dear to us at some point in this life. Whether it's because they are taken from us first, or whether we are separated from them through our own passing away. Now, yesterday when I asked you, what do you know to be the truth? That is one of the few things that we absolutely know to be the truth. But we do struggle to live with that as an inevitable truth. It doesn't mean that we should live in a morbid state of, oh no, everything dear to me is going to be stripped away. It means that it should be the encouragement, the invitation to completely embrace what's with you right now for what it is, in the absolute knowledge that it won't last forever, that it is a gift that appears in your life for a moment and will pass in time. There is nothing in this universe that lasts indefinitely. One of the great causes of suffering is the fact that we cling to the peculiar belief that we might be the only one that will, or that those around us might be the only ones that will. It is a cause of great pain to be separated from that which is dear to you. But that is the pain that is part of life. You know, it's every time we go through that, it is a rite of passage. But it is unbearable if we didn't come to the knowledge in time that that was always going to happen. That the joy of life that we are blessed with the opportunity to engage in comes with it, brings with it the absolute knowledge that it doesn't last forever. Now that reflection on impermanence can be the cause of your terror and your misery and your suffering and your sense of woe. Or it could just lift you to say, you know how extraordinary these few moments that we have on this planet are. They're not to be missed with regret and woe and worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow. They're to be completely entered into now, because they're so precious. Now, it's an extraordinary transformation, and it may not happen suddenly. That out of that place of fear, where we kind of, at some level, have to pretend to ourselves that the inevitability of the passing of things might not be inevitable, to a place of complete faith and trust and love and willingness to love. And when you are willing to love everything in this world in the knowledge that it will be at some point taken from you, it's not taken from you if you don't seek to possess it, but will pass away. When you get to that point of fearlessness, then you are not afraid to love completely. When I asked you, what is the next thing that arises when you touch that pristine place of purity in your heart? When you realize that that has never been disturbed and will never be disturbed, the next thing that arises is love. It's like, it's so beautiful. It's all so beautiful. And that love that arises from that place does not favor one being over another. It just loves things for what they are. Now that boundless love does not suffer from the separation from what is dear or the misery of not getting what one wants. It just loves things the way they are. That's unconditional love, and it's not born of a reflection. Maybe, 6 billion people on this planet, we're all the same. I should love everybody the same way. But we don't get to that point because we haven't seen that suchness. We haven't seen that which unifies us all. We're only seeing that we're all human beings. But it's when you see that we have all arisen from the same basic state of pure awareness, we could call this the Buddha nature. It's the very essence of every single one of us, not just the Buddha. And it is perfect. And it's the fundamental essence of every single one of us. And all our suffering and all the misery we bring to ourselves and others is only on account of our separation from it. But it's always there. That clear light of pure awareness that some would call God is not there in the heart of every being that passes away. Every single one, even those who are passing away in abject misery or full of hatred, it's there, they just can't see it because they are clinging to their ideas of themselves and others. But it's never not there. So if our practice becomes a practice of developing a deep relationship to that part of ourselves and starting to see it in everyone around us, we start to experience that single taste, which is the basis of true unconditional love. A deep feeling of compassion and our appreciative joy, our gratitude. So, no matter how broken you feel, or might have felt in your life, no matter what state of despair you've ever found yourself in, that despair was only ever caused because you were separated or felt separated from something you didn't quite yet know what it was. But not being with that is the cause of this misery. Jesus knew that anger and hatred were not innate in any being. He knew that the hatred and the anger was the result of people's confusion. So if you are suffering with some form of regret or remorse or shame or guilt because things you've done that are rooted in greed or selfishness or ill will or anger or hatred, you should forgive yourself as well. Because you didn't know what you were doing. You didn't know the true nature of what you are. And if you can't yet forgive yourself, then put yourself before the Buddha or before Jesus, if you're a Christian, and show Jesus or the Buddha your shame. All of it, right down to the messiest part that you couldn't bear to tell anyone. And see if you see any unwillingness to forgive in those enlightened beings. None. None. Because they know that ignorance is the cause of all suffering. Not the hatred, not the greed, not the selfishness, not the pride, not the jealousy. They are just symptoms of our confusion. And that when we are not confused, we do not feel these things. And if Jesus can forgive his best friends for betraying him, and those who were torturing and butchering him, there's absolutely no doubt that he can forgive what we have done. So, find that part of you that has always been pure, that was never made impure as we got into confusion, and thereafter our jealousy and our greed and our pride and our anger and our aversion and our intolerance and our impatience. It did not defile that part of us in any way. It just separated us from it for a while we were turning in that confusion. So we are not broken, we're still whole. That highest part of us has never in any way been anything but perfect. You choose. Which part of you do you want to identify with? This idea of myself, who needs to stamp his little foot and be heard by those who aren't listening? Or that part that really, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These things that we're hung up on, they don't matter. Let them go.